Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat. And of course the subject of today's chat is not one that I can give a fan flap to of any kind. It's a really sad event which has happened. And I'm going to start right from the beginning about how I found out about what happened. And of course I'm talking about the Notre-Dame Cathedral fire that happened yesterday. In fact, it must have been round about this time yesterday, so about 24 hours ago. Um, okay, so I'd actually finished my live chat on this channel, and I went to have a cup of tea on my other channel with you guys, Elliot's British Life, and I started making my cup of tea, and I was starting to drink it, and then literally people were commenting, Notre Dame's on fire, Notre Dame's on fire, the cathedral's on fire. And I was talking to you guys and I thought, oh, it's just a little fire. It won't be anything. It'll just be a little tiny little, maybe there's just a bit of smoke, a little bit like, I suppose, a kitchen fire or something like that, something that can be put out. And then people were going, no, seriously, Notre Dame is on fire. Turn on the TV. So I turned on the TV. In fact, you can see all of this in my other video. So I turn on the TV and I'm like, okay, it's on fire. Notre Dame is actually on fire, and this looks awful. So I kind of watch a little bit of the footage, and of course I'm trying to comment to people on the channel as well. So it's all a bit like, I don't know what to do. So anyway, I end the live chat, the live stream I was doing yesterday, and I go and I watch the news, and it dawns on me that how devastating that fire actually is. I mean, it's the sort of fire that the firefighters were tackling, but it's this kind of fire that kind of almost needed to run its course before it could finally be tamed and put out. Now, the fire service, I think, did an amazing job. They did manage to put the fire out eventually, but there was a tremendous loss of well, we think there was a loss of some artifacts. It could be some paintings that aren't accountable for yet. Possibly some statues and anything that basically could have melted in the time. But one of the biggest losses was the architectural loss, it seems, to the roof, because the roof had, I think it was original beams from an original forest, from an ancient forest that was around at the time of it being built. So I think that has completely gone, and of course they lost the big spire as well. But they did manage to save some of the artifacts, including I think the crown of thorns, and I think there was a couple of paintings and that kind of thing. So not everything has been lost, but as I was watching it, in fact I think I commented this in the video yesterday, it reminded me so much of the Windsor Castle fire. I mean, I think obviously Notre Dame I think was on a much bigger scale, but it reminded me so much of the Windsor Castle fire with these big vast open spaces that were obviously ornately decorated and carved, and that had all these ancient timbers. And it was the same kind of thing. It went up in smoke, and obviously now there's going to have to be some kind of really major restoration work. Oh, by the way, it was amazing. I mean, really astounding that nobody was seriously hurt or killed. I think a firefighter was injured, but it's not life threatening. So that is amazing. And I think, for such a fire of that scale to have nobody die is just phenomenal. It really is. I think they were very lucky that the fire started when all the visitors had left. So all the tourists had left. It seems like any staff that were in there were able to get out, which I think was just amazing. And that would have been the worst tragedy. Let's put it this way: it's stuff. It is just stuff, and stuff is not people's lives. So I think anybody can just feel really lucky that there was no devastating loss of life. Here in the UK, we've recently had an awful fire. We've had the Grenfell Tower fire, which of course Meghan worked on the cookbook for, and I mean that was a tremendous loss of life. people burned in a fire. Thank goodness it wasn't that. Thank goodness nobody actually lost their lives. And I think I said at the time whilst I was watching it live in my live chat, I didn't think the stonework anything would happen to that. So I kind of knew that the stonework would survive, but I was obviously doubtful about any of the treasures inside. I think the organ, is it 8,000 pipe organ? I think but it seems like it might be okay. And we did see photographs of that glittering cross that managed to survive. So I'm hopeful that it will be rebuilt and restored. There's already been, I think, 650 million euros in donations that have come in. 200 million of those have come from one single donor, and also 100 million has come in from, I think, Selma Hayek's husband, I think. So donations have most definitely been pouring in. The Queen has led the royal family in sending out messages of condolence, and also Prince Charles has sent out a message too. I'm not sure whether the Cambridges or the Sussexes will send a separate message. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see what comes out on their social medias in due course, I think. But I want to go to the chat room and see what people are saying. You can, of course, use this video if you want to leave messages of condolence. You never know who's looking and who might be seeing them. Maybe some French people may be looking and may be able to get some strength from your kind words. So I'm going to go to the chat room and see what you all are saying. Let's have a look. Okay. Lots of people saying hello and that it's very, very sad. It is indeed. Margaret says, seeing this beautiful piece of history burn down to the ground like this is just absolutely heartbreaking for everyone. Yes. What a horrendous loss, says Lorraine. Debbie says it's horrific. Auntie D says, my son visited Notre-Dame during an English foreign tours trip. EF trip, is that? Margaret says, God bless the emergency responders, the firefighters and all the people of France. Liv Love and Nav said that was heartbreaking, watching history going down. Arnold says, very sad. Tonya says, thankfully people have donated millions to help rebuild. Yes, 650 million. Although a lot of things cannot be replaced. Yes, just like in the Windsor Castle fire, some pieces of furniture, for example, were completely lost and they had to be either completely rebuilt or replaced. Or remade, I should say. There was talk about the craftsmanship, because I think the cathedral took almost 200 years to complete. That's a long, long time. I mean, I can imagine these restorations taking, 10, 20 years, maybe. Literally just deciding how to do the works may take a couple of years to just get all the planning in place. So I think they're in for a long haul in terms of restoration and planning on what to do with it and how to restore. I mean, do you restore with timber? Do you use more modern techniques? Do you replace the roof structures in steel? Do you go for a similar facade but then maybe make the structure more modern? I mean, what do you do? How do you do it? There's a lot to talk about, I think. Margaret says, I found comfort in the fact that the Queen and the royal family sent their condolences so fast. It really did my heart good. The Queen and the royal family are very, very good at sending out messages of condolence around the world. And the Commonwealth, of course. Arnold says, I think the firefighters took too long. It makes everyone question fire procedures with these sorts of buildings, including things like museums and palaces and all that kind of thing. What if, for example, there was a fire in Buckingham Palace? Is there a proper fire procedure in place to evacuate all of the artifacts, evacuate the people, and try and put the fire out? People talk about sprinkler systems, but in terms of sprinkler systems, they can also do quite a lot of damage internally as well. So these things should be taken into consideration. Was there a proper fire plan in place for Notre Dame? I don't know. I don't know what was in place, but I'm sure many old buildings, including things like museums that hold many, many treasures, will be questioning their own or looking at their own fire procedures to see if lessons can be learned from Notre Dame. Now, I don't like the blame game. It seems like it wasn't an attack of any kind. It seems like it was just an accident. Early reports are saying it was an accident. Notre Dame was going through renovation work anyway, and it had all scaffolding up, and just like in the Windsor Castle file, there was renovations going on. I think a lamp caught a curtain in Windsor Castle, but it seems like something to do with the works caused a fire. In this case, it was an accident. I don't like the whole blame game and blame culture of trying to pin someone down technically to a fault. It doesn't do any good. It's not going to fix anything. I'm sure if anyone is at fault, nobody intended that to happen. Sometimes accidents do just happen, and that was a horrendous accident. Justy says, "Hello there, vive la France. Salute to California. What a tragedy. I thought about Windsor Castle fire as well. Blessed that it made it 800 years back to work." Yes, I mean, in a building such as that's had such a long lifespan, this could only be midway. This could only be part way through that building's life. The stone structure is incredibly solid. I mean, look at the pyramids. Built of sandstone. They've lasted over 3,000 years. This could just be like a blip in Notre Dame's history. I don't think people should be looking at it as that it's been completely destroyed. It's just an evolution in its life, in its existence, and there is now a renewed chance to completely rebuild it and to put a little bit of modern back into it, perhaps. And to kind of put a little bit of what's current and what's relevant today. It's kind of like making lemonade out of lemons, and that's what they did at Windsor Castle. They actually, arguably, they probably made the Windsor Castle renovations better. Prince Philip took great interest and great control in the renovations, and arguably, you could probably say that Windsor Castle was actually rebuilt to a better standard than what it was before. So I think, in the midst of all this tragedy, there is great opportunity to rebuild it and rebuild it better, and replace things and put a little bit of the people of today in. Set it up for the next 800 years. It's made it this far. It's terrible that happened. But now they can replace it. They can make it fit for the next 800 years. That's the way that they need to look at it. Yes, thank God nobody lost their lives. Mary says, "I don't always get news where I am. Do they know what started it?" I don't think they've released that yet, but they did say that they don't think it was suspicious. They think it's accidental. And yes, they are still investigating the cause. And this investigation will go on, I think, for a long time. I agree, it is so sad to see the beautiful cathedral almost completely destroyed. Okay, my camera's just skipped. I'm just going up a little bit. Okay. Capri says, "Do you think the Queen should create more hereditary nobles? If so, who should she ennoble?" I don't know. That would entirely. Well, I think any husbands of the princesses Eugenie and Beatrice should perhaps be ennobled. Vanessa says, "I cried. It's history. It's beautiful. Still remains." Yes, I mean, its stone structure is still there, and it's remarkable inside on the ground level. Although there's all this destruction, how much of because it's made in stone, how much still survives? The glass-stained windows. There were early reports of shattering and melting, but when you look at some of the roses, they look remarkably intact from what I can see. So I'm not sure about all of them. So I'm hoping a good deal of the basic bones can be restored. HN the King says 600 million euros pledged already. Yes, I think I read 650. And Chibley says, as a World Heritage Site, I know everyone will want to see it restored on some way, but it will never be the same. No, and I don't think that they should go for the same. That's why I'm saying I think it's an opportunity to add to it. Yes, I think they will probably stick to the facade on the outside, but you know, in internal, you've got a chance now to do something different. You aren't going to be able to get the same timbers back that you had before. So it's almost like, why use them? Why use timber just to recreate something that you've lost, that's not actually the same? It just becomes a parable. It becomes a pastiche, which is something I'm not terribly fond of. So why not use the bare bones of what is left, what remains, and put a little bit of who we are as a people today using modern technologies and modern things, maybe steel. You know, steel is big. Maybe glass. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely to see more, you know, glass work or something? I'm sure they could do. They'll come up with something spectacular. I think they should go for something spectacular because it is a spectacular building. Yes, Salma Hayek's husband is actually French. Janine Bell says it's so sad that the history burnt down. The emergency crew were so fantastic. It is so hard to think what is lost. And I think the bells are okay too. I think there was early reports that the bell tower, there might be some sort of structural stuff inside the bells, but it seems like they're okay as well. Okay, T French says, I just watched the Windsor Castle fire documentary a week ago. The fire in France reminded me of that. Yes, it's very, very similar. And like I say, it's those big open spaces that just go whoosh, and then all the really old dry wood, you know. Yeah. Oh, I'm just seeing on the telly now. I've got the telly on here. They're crane lifting out some statues. So they're already starting on retrieving as many things as they can, I think. So that's good. That's positive. Okay. Yes, lots of rich people have donated, which I think is good. Little Annie says, I've just seen an item on the news about the restoration of York Minster following the fire 35 years ago. You cannot tell there was a fire. The restoration is amazing. They can do amazing things. They can. You know, this building is not going anywhere. It's probably got another 800 years. But, you know, I think they could do something equally spectacular. Margaret says, some time ago I watched a documentary on Buckingham Palace and they said that if there was ever a fire, people first, artifacts second. Yes. Susan Orr says, it's amazing how the church and the government couldn't agree who should pay for the necessary renovation, which was solely needed. The government owns the building but allows the church to use it. It's probably, the cost probably always falls with the nation that it's in, I would imagine. I mean, for example, you know, if Westminster Abbey was to go up, it would be Britain that, you know, pays the cost, or yeah, I think it's always the country, I think, but of course people have been donating very kindly. Thank you, Carol. No, I'm not reading a different chapter this one, I'm just behind. HM the King says, Windsor Fire was much worse in terms of what was destroyed. Yes, there was a lot more in there, but they did manage to get things out really, really quickly. I mean, in Windsor Fire, I remember seeing images of them almost like passing items out in a big chain. Live, Love and Laugh says, I was wondering the same. Sprinkler systems, they could have damaged the artefacts. That's the trouble. But at least the structure could have left standing. They should reconsider sprinkler systems. Well, it seems like the Notre-Dame structure is okay, as far as I'm aware at the moment. HM the King says, the roof in Notre-Dame is only 160 years old. I think there was a renovation 160 years ago, but I'm not quite sure that the entire roof is only 160 years. I think a lot of the timbers were from this is what I've heard on the TV anyway. It said that the roof beams that were all crisscrossing and going in different directions were from an ancient forest. And that they were there from the time of it. So there may have been restoration work done on it throughout its 800 years, as you can imagine. But I think a lot of the timbers, they're saying, were actually still there. I think the spire that you're talking about was added 160 years ago. Somebody remodeled almost lots of the whole building, and the spire that collapsed was a wooden spire that was added, I think, 160 years ago. That may be what you're talking about, I think. Live, Love and Laugh says, I was wondering the same. Oh, I've read that one. And I've skipped all the way down to the bottom. Hang on. Let's go back up. Anna Kerr says, I also do not like the blame game. Why are they already saying that it was an accident? Because I think they probably know. Probably looking from inside, you can almost tell if something's been purposefully set. And maybe CCTV as well. Mary Brunn says, if Buckingham Palace went up in flames, I could see the damage that could happen due to sprinklers. So what do you do? Artifacts destroyed due to fire water. Yeah, that's why you would have a plan. Angela says, such a shame, but if they rebuild, it won't be the same. No, but let's look at it in a different way. You know I'm Mr. Positive and Mr. Optimistic. Look at it this way. If we do something now, in our time, to set it up for the next 800 years, think of the people in 800 years' time who will be going to that building and admiring the work that we did 800 years ago. So, think of it that way. It won't be the same, but then when people are looking back, it'll almost be just another wrinkle in its history, in its rich tapestry of life. Auntie D says, thanks for the perspective. It's an opportunity. Think of it as an opportunity. They did at Windsor Castle, and like I say, arguably they made it better, I think. H.M. the King says, the roof in the Great Hall in Windsor is more beautiful and even bigger. Marvellous engineering. Yes, prayers and love. Thank you, Sandy. I'm not sure if a member of the royal family will go to visit. Perhaps it's too soon for a member of the royal family to visit, but I'd imagine if they did send someone, Prince Charles, because he is he's really into architecture and that kind of thing. So I think Prince Charles would be suitable to send. Sandy says, I sent you a request in Twitter. I don't have one, so you probably sent it to somebody else. It won't be me. EAO says, in 1998, the historic Central Synagogue in New York City your family attends was just finishing a 3-year renovation when a workman knocked over a torch by accident. Oh no! With the same outcome as Notre-Dame, we rebuilt. Yes. It's an opportunity. Rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. Diana says, thank you for your heartening remarks about the opportunity of making Notre-Dame better and adding a modern stamp on it. It actually made me feel better about it. Yeah, this building is not going anywhere. It will be around for probably another 800,000 years. This is just a blip in its entire history. And the French people can make it something great again. Yes, it will come back stronger. Have they saved the painting? I'm not sure. Some things are unaccounted for. Vivian says, it was a beautiful church I visited in 2016. Oh, but, yes, it is. And going back to the art, I mean, if there are works of art that are lost, let's make some new ones. Let's get the best artists that are around today. Make some new. Make some new scenes. You aren't going to replace what's lost, but make some new. Make something equally spectacular that the next, like I say, in the next 200, 800 years, people will be looking back on and thinking, wow, that's spectacular. And they'll be thinking about us. I think, see, I haven't been to Windsor Castle. I know HM the King has, but one of the stained glass windows was actually replaced with scenes of the fire. There's like a stained glass window of the firefighters fighting the Windsor Castle fire. You know, there's opportunities to put all this kind of thing back in. Yes, reminds me of Windsor Castle burning. Mary Bryn says, saw something on Facebook where someone said, teach your children that Notre Dame is a religious building, not a football team. That's for the Americans. Why? What are people saying? Reed says 1 billionaire vowed to donate 339 million. That might be the same one that I was talking about, not sure. Do you think they'll have Easter service in front? Possibly, yeah, quite possibly. I'm not sure if Windsor has a sprinkler system there, but like I say, sprinkler systems can be a double-edged sword. They can actually cause extra damage. Water damage can almost be, as bad. Book Princess says, Christine, I think Westminster must be minimum for 1099 because William the Conqueror was crowned there, wasn't he? I suppose, are they similar ages? Possibly. Yes, people are pledging to rebuild. Yes, Prince Charles also sent condolences through Clarence House. Yes, I think it was an electric light caught a curtain, and that's what happened to Windsor Castle. Yes, Susan, the Windsor fire was caused by a very hot lamp close to a curtain. Angel says the organ in Notre-Dame is about 800 years old, but I don't know if it was saved. People are saying that they think it looks okay. That's what early reports are. The cross is still shining and the firemen just looked at each other. Yes. Is the Queen planning to abdicate? No. Flossenmog Payne says Coventry Cathedral was bombed and replaced with a modern cathedral. Amazing modern works of art and a new perspective on religious architecture. Notre Dame can be the same type of rebuild. Yes, I mean, I don't think they're going to tear Notre Dame down. I don't think it needs it. Like I say, I think the stone structure is still there. They need to repair the roof and the floors. I'm not sure if there was like extra floors in there that collapsed on top of each other, but they can do all that. And it will take a long time, though. I mean, I'm anticipating this could take 10 years minimum, probably. I don't know. I mean, it's going to take a long time just to get the plans ready about what they're going to do to it. Oh, and I think a lot of the artifacts are going to be put in the Louvre. In the Louvre, I should say. The Louvre. Louvre. Where's my tiara today? I didn't think it was appropriate to wear any glitz for this video. I would love to do a live chat from Windsor. Oh, by the way, people were saying I need to sit down again. My legs go to sleep after a while, so I need to sit down. Oh, that's better. Okay. People were saying, why was Michelle Obama or the Obama talk removed from my previous videos? I forgot to talk about them. I left my live chat and forgot to talk about them. So, and also, if people were making political comments, the moderators removed the political comments because we don't want to get too much into politics. But the story that I did want to say from yesterday about the Obamas was it was just Michelle Obama recounting the time she met the Queen in her book. I think she has a book out right now. And she was saying that she felt that she has no regrets about touching the Queen. Do you remember when she met and she hugged the Queen? And she said that she felt like it was a natural human thing to do. And she said that she didn't think that the Queen minded a breach of protocol or anything like that. She said it felt like a very human and natural thing to do because she'd noticed that the Queen was wearing a pin badge which they had gifted her on a previous visit. So she thought that was really, really touching that the Queen had wore the pin badge. And she just reached out and kind of hugged the Queen, and she felt that that was a very natural response and that the Queen didn't mind a breach in protocol at all, and the Queen pretty much as much said so. So all was good. That's all I wanted to say. That was literally everything that I wanted to say about Michelle Obama. Betsy says, if they use other materials than wood, the new cathedral will be safer from fire. Yes. And I'm sure if the people back then would have had the materials that we had now, they probably would have used something more like that. Things change when it comes to construction. Margaret says, dearest Elliot, I just love the way you look after your loyal viewers. The story is so awful, but after listening to you, I feel so comforted. Thank you. I'm glad you find me useful. Um, did I hear that Prince Charles is going to Germany? Yes, he is. May the 7th, so he definitely won't go before baby Sussex is born. Oh, I can't... I don't know. See, I'm thinking baby Sussex may be born sometime this week. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll put my finger out and say that. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking maybe sometime this week. I always said sort of mid-April. Beverly says, yes, I was shocked to turn on the news to see Notre Dame ablaze, so sorry to hear that. Glad, though, that I had the opportunity and privilege of visiting Paris and Notre Dame twice. Auntie D says, I saw it on CNN. The Queen reached out to Michelle Obama first. Yes, the Queen seemed okay with it. Apparently, the Notre Dame, the football team, funnily enough, are known as the Fighting Irish. Oh, I see where the confusion was coming in. Okay. EAO says, I think we Americans know the difference between a Catholic college football team and the actual Notre-Dame Cathedral. Yes. I think Camilla looked okay. I really do. Okay. And that's kind of all, really, that I wanted to say about this. We don't know too much. It's just so sad that what has gone, but like I say, be positive, stay positive, look to the future, rebuild better, rebuild using modern crafts. I mean, you know, those are crafts from 800 years ago. I am sure that there are a wealth of crafts and different things that can be put back into the building. I'm going to have to go before my camera dies. It's just told me I've got like 10% battery left. So I'm going to have to go. Thank you for joining me today. I hope I've given you some kind of positivity on all of this, because, you know, a lot of the news out there is very negative and, you know, can be a little bit downbeat. So I'm hoping I've put a little bit of a different spin on it, especially drawing from what happened at Windsor Castle. So we do kind of have a model of something to go by, where a tragedy has been turned into a triumph. Lemons into lemonade. Just think lemons into lemonade. It can be done. Windsor Castle is an amazing example of what can be done. So I'm going to leave it here. I normally say, if you've enjoyed this video, okay, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm not saying to thumb up the subject, but if you've liked this video, give it a thumb up. Don't forget to share on social media, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. I may go live on my other channel and do a little chat. I'm not sure. We'll see. So from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, my biggest and warmest condolences go out to the people of France and Notre Dame.